Larry, I think you're on mute.
Hey, Jeff, how are you?
I'm good, Larry.
How does today's scrimmage and ones like it help you prepare the team to cope with the long layoff? I know you obviously want to evaluate some things in terms of lines and guys make your team, but in terms of the layoff and knocking some rust off timing, how much do kind of high intensity scrimmages help?
Well, that's the hope. Anything, I'll just start, like if you're a goalie, just having that focus for 60 minutes or 60 minutes plus, it's different than practice. It's different than those things. And so I think, and that's just one position. I mean, I think if you're a defenseman, you're put in a lot of different situations, having to go back for pucks and the spatial awareness, same with a forward. So, I think they can be useful. I think we got to continue to ratchet the intensity level up. Not necessarily the physicality, but the intensity level, and get it to a higher pace before the 14th. But for the first one, it gives you a chance to look at things. The other thing it does for staff is gives us a chance to know what we need to work on more. Like when you implement systems in practice, everything can look great, and then you drop the puck and it doesn't. And so it's hard to have corrective actions without seeing those things live. And so, we'll go back, we'll go through the film, and then get a chance to work on some things in practice the next time we go at it.
Quick unrelated follow-up. What do you know about this team now that maybe you didn't a couple of weeks ago, or just some early thoughts on some guys or combinations or situations that you have?
Well, I think, we hope that we'd have more depth at each position, really. And I think so far that's what it looks like. It looks like it's going to be competitive at each position, and that there's a lot of guys that are good, solid players, and that look like NHL players. And now, can some of those guys push and have great years? And can the depth help us as we go through the season? We'll see. But that's what it looks like after a few days.
Next up is Max Bultman with The Athletic.
Hey, Jeff, do you have any update on Evgeny Svechnikov? Saw him leave the ice. Do you know any severity there?
I do not. I saw what you guys saw, and he left the ice, and so still waiting on an update for him.
And then I know you talked about Matthias Brome a couple of days ago, but what are the things that have stood out the most about his game so far? I know you talked about kind of the size being more than you expected, but now seeing him kind of in a full ice setting like this.
Well, I think he continues to do a good job, and you walk off. I think impact on the game is a big part of when you're watching. You can have a good skill set, but if your impact on the game is negligible, then it doesn't really help. And I think his impact in the game has been, or impact in practice, and then impact in games, has been pretty positive. So I thought he did a good job today. He works real hard. He's a little, I'd say, quicker than I probably realized too. He's done a pretty good job that way. Now this whole thing's going to ramp up a lot, and he's going to ultimately give up a lot of size. But I think he's done a pretty good job so far. He seems to be smart. He can play a lot of different. He's been good on our penalty kill, been good on the power play when he's gotten a chance to, and he's been good 5-on-5. So we're hoping that he's a guy who can play up our lineup and give us more depth.
Thank you.
Next up is Brad Galley with WXYZ.
Jeff, you talked at the outset of camp about having appreciation and maybe taking a step back of living through a pandemic, waiting for the game that you love so much. But then I look at you today and you got the grizzled beard. I don't know how much you've slept since camp began. Where's your mindset now after a few days of doing this and now a first scrimmage under your guys' belt?
Well, first off, it's great to be back at it. I think, I've enjoyed I enjoy getting off the ice in practice and having an idea that you helped your guys get better, you help your team get better. This is a little bit different because it's more of an evaluation. But I've enjoyed it. I mean, I think being back at it, this is why we do what we do. And so certainly, been excited about it. I look forward to continue to build here through the next 7 or so days, 8 days until we get to game one. So, but real excited about it. I'll get a shave in today though.
I didn't mean anything personally. I can't grow anything on my face, so maybe I'm just jealous. I did see a couple smiles on your face today, just to see your guys out in action competing. I know it's against guys that wear the same sweater, but what was it like for you as the head coach to watch your guys compete on the ice today?
Well, again, it was great. I think is to see, start to kind of implement your stuff and to see where guys are at and just see guys playing. I mean, it's been 10 months or whatever. It's been a really long time. So I think it's great to be back at it.
Next question from Helene St. James for the Detroit Free Press.
Hi, Jeff. Even though it was just a scrimmage, you saw Stahl, Nemesnikov. How good is it to see that kind of depth in scoring, even if it is just in a scrimmage, considering how last year went?
I've said this lots, and I think it's important. Like we have to get more out of more people, and so to add scoring from different people, I think is huge. It is a scrimmage. We get that. We'll take it with a grain of salt, but they still scored, and I think Nemesnikov in particular, the type of goal that he scored, I think is repeatable. He's got a really good kind of hands. It wasn't super close to net, but it was a tip in and or a deflection, I should say. And I think he's good at those little things. So we need more depth of scoring for sure. We need more people to contribute offensively. And so that's a positive.
Did you like what you saw from Bobby Ryan as well? A couple drives to the net here and there. And
yeah, I thought, I think Bobby's been pretty good in practice. I think as a group, our intensity level needs to be better for the next scrimmage to get lots out of it. And, I think that's probably a little bit to be expected, but we got to be a little more intense as a group. And Bobby's included in that going into the next game. It's a little hard in your mindset, I think, sometimes to play against each other and play to the level that you would in an exhibition, but we got to find ways to replicate that exhibition. But I thought Bobby did a good job.
Thank you.
Next question from Ansar Khan with MLive.
Yeah, Jeff, any further update on Helm? Is it still kind of just a day-to-day thing, or is it maybe going to be out a little longer?
Ansar, unfit to play, unfit to practice, and to be part today. That's all I have.
And any update on Elson?
No update, but based again what I told you with Svetch. I saw what you saw and came off the ice, and then we'll see where he's at tomorrow morning.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Next question from Ted Coughlin with the Detroit News.
Hey, Jeff, how do you think the first couple weeks, the first week or two of the regular season is going to look? I mean, do you expect the play overall to be kind of crisp, or is the skill going to take over? Or is it just simply who wants it more, basically, who's going to outwork the other team? Because with the shortened training camp and all.
Yeah, I think you're trying to get to your game as fast as you can, and I think my observation of the bubble, which is kind of a similar situation, is some teams got to their game faster than others. It wasn't necessarily. I think sometimes when people haven't had a chance to put their structure in as long as you'd like, then sometimes skill takes over and the skill wins. But I didn't necessarily totally see that. I saw work ethic probably win out, and that's the way that it looked to me. Like the teams that were most committed to work at the level that you have to work at in order to have success were the ones that seemed the most ready and had the most success early in the bubble. And and I think we got to make sure we take note of that and get yourself up to that level of intensity that it's going to take. We're going to make mistakes. That's okay. We're not going to have every thing down totally pat. That's okay, but we can't allow our intensity level is going to have to be great from the drop of the puck in game one. And so we got to make sure. I think our guys in practice, I thought the first 4 practices were really intense, and I thought we played at a high level. I wasn't as pleased today with that part of it, and I think we just got to keep getting better at it.
Kind of alluded to it earlier, but for the goalies, is this going to be particularly a little bit more tricky for them because they just, like Bernie was talking about, just seeing the traffic or just readjusting to that again? I mean, is this all a little bit more tougher for goalies?
Well, it's harder to replicate some of the situations they see in practice, to get really the 5 guys and seeing through, maybe as much as 8 bodies at times. And so I thought the scrimmage, if it was beneficial for anybody today, it would probably be most beneficial for the goalies because number one, they got to get in their routine and they go through, 3 periods and keep their focus and all the things, in practice, lots of times it's going back and forth and you don't go for, 2-minute stretches of no action and then maybe a minute and a half of no action. So I think that part was really important. And I think certainly the traffic is hard to replicate to that level. And so, I would assume the goalies got lots out of today. And to me, that's going to be really critically important.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Next up is Artem Soloviev with Match TV.
Hi, Coach Artem Soloviev. For many of these guys, it's their first time playing like this in an empty building. Some of them have played like Lemesnikov with the Colorado in the playoffs. Any comments from the guys on the bench? The acoustics was pretty loud. We could hear everything where we were sitting. And the second question was about how did you like the intensity? You mentioned it a little bit, but was it a little too much for you? Because, one player left to cut. Mr. Smith almost, he got hit from behind there, but got up. Svetch left, another player with the knee. Thank you.
Yeah. It's, the empty building. Yes, that's actually a good point. The music was loud, that's for sure. So, I think they're trying to keep the atmosphere high without the fans in it. And so, it is an adjustment and to bring your own intensity type situation. And so I think that's probably a real positive of playing the exhibition. I think that's the only one that we have in Little Caesars. It'll seem different in Belfour in the practice rink where, it's tighter and everything's and it just, the noise doesn't dissipate as much. So I think that part of it was good to have, the scrimmage over there. I think there's a balance. Your second question, there's a huge balance, fine line between, the level of intensity in practice and injuries. We do not want to lose players to injury. And I get that for sure. I don't want to start game one with half a lineup because, we lost guys in practices and scrimmages. You want to avoid that. But I also know that come game one, things are going to happen fast and they're going to hit us hard and we're going to have to be ready for that. And so you got to try to have that balance. Some of the injuries today were really not, they were a little bit fluke plays. You get a high stick that happens in games. I think that the knee was just a quick kind of reaction. So, again, some of that stuff happens, but we'd like to avoid it, but still have the practice or the scrimmages be intense.
Next, we'll go back to Larry Lage.
How does the taxi squad dynamic, how do you see that shaking out now that we know there is going to be an AHL season? Once there is an AHL season, how do you see striking that balance with using that taxi squad because you might need it for COVID, but wanting those players to play and develop?
I would say it's still a work in progress. Those are conversations that Steve and I are continuing to have and will have. I think a little bit depends on, who's on the bubble, the bubble of making the team and, which guys are those and how we handle those players will probably depend on it. We're still trying to find out some particulars about, in terms of when guys come back. If they're not on the taxi squad, they're in the American League, they come back. And we recall them, let's say, to the taxi squad with the purpose of or maybe even to our team. What's the quarantine level and all those things. So we're just working all that stuff out. I think it's one of those situations that as the information comes in, you make the best decision you can. So I want to we wanted to get to yesterday to see where the American League was at, where Grand Rapids was at. So now we've got to that point. We want to get through some of these practices to see what players are close and then what's the best thing for those players and what's the best thing for our team. Ultimately, as I've said, the taxi squad for me, I want guys that if we need them on a moment's notice can step in and help us win a hockey game. But we got to weigh that against, certainly with the younger guys, especially playing games and making sure that we're not hurting their development by sitting on a taxi squad. So that's just something that we're going to have to look at as we go through it.
Our last question today is from Art Regner with DetroitRedWings.com.
Hi, Jeff. Danny DeKeyser has not played in over a year. He scored a nice goal there, 3-on-3. I'm kind of curious your thoughts on the way DeKeyser looked after being off the ice for so long.
Well, I think Danny is continuously in practice and into the scrimmage, I think looked better and better and better. And so that's a positive that he's moving the right direction. I think he feels more comfortable every day. I think, he's had a huge layoff and he had major surgery. And so I think, it takes time. And I think the more confidence he gets in his back and his body, the the better he'll play. And I also think the more time he gets under his belt in different situations, the better he'll play. So, I've said to you guys as a group, I think we got to temper our expectations with Danny, or the early part of the year. I think when Danny got hurt, Danny's, to me, one of the better defenders in the league. Certainly one of our top defensemen night in and night out, and he was a big loss. And as we get him back, we got to understand that it's going to take him some time, certainly to even eat those same number of minutes. And so we'll temper those expectations. But I see good progress in Danny in terms of his comfort level on the ice, and I think his the level of play he's had.
I know you said that you'd like to see the intensity level be ratcheted up a little bit. Did you like this format? Are you going to continue this format for the next two scrimmages with penalties being called, but penalty shots to 3-on-3, or are you going to change it up a little bit?
We're going to change it up a little bit. First off, one of the things we did today was we also implemented a system before the scrimmage. So we had a 20-minute practice. That's a walkthrough, and that's a bit of an energy drain. It's not, so now the guys have two different things going on, and sometimes I think that hurts the scrimmage. And the scrimmage was fine, and I thought by the third period it was better, and the intensity ramped up a bit. Again, it's just the work ethic and the stop and all the little details. We got to make sure we're less careless with the puck. In terms of the particulars of it, we'll take that a little bit day by day. For sure, the next time we play, we're going to have specialty teams, so we'll have power plays and penalty kills. But if we implemented that today, we just felt like we wouldn't get enough 5-on-5 time. So the next time we play, we'll have some power plays and penalty kills. We've talked about maybe a special situation, like each team gets a 5-on-6 and a 6-on-5, and not doing the 3-on-3. So it'll be a little bit different next time, Art.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone. That's it for us today. We'll see you again on Thursday.